Mykyx realizes that.
It comes back to your point. Let's try and escalate once again. Underneath turret, there's Dominus popped immediately. Root down because the passive is down. And Broken Blade gets the kill as he pops Adam. But they haven't killed him yet. As he flushes away, BDS re-engage on the summonerless Hans. Summer! Man, he's been calling Hans' mama after getting taken down.
We keep.
Zeri keep in mid, okay?
Yeah.
Where do we go? We can go top? No, go top. You guys go mid.
It is BDS who's striker first, and well, so many people had G2 as the absolute favorites in this series, and many called it as a simple walk in the park and a 3-0, including Broxah. That is not the case. Will we finally see the reversal of the narrative that we've seen all year? I really want to believe it, Medic.
Yeah, so do I. I'll be honest, if we hadn't had the last few weeks of G2 playing,
yeah,
G2 losing a game in a best of 5 would be more surprising to me.
That's true.
But I have watched them recently, and it's becoming less of a shock. And I think sometimes that can make it a little underwhelming, but it is still a huge deal for BDS. Like, they've never beaten G2 in a best of 5. They come out of the gate swinging, played G2 at their own game in game 1, and managed to pick up the win in a relatively convincing fashion. This is huge for BDS.
It is huge. Summarize the situation for me, Broxah. We had, it really went well from BDS and really badly for G2 right from the start, from those dives.
Yeah, I really thought they were back in form after what we saw last week, because that's the G2 that we know that are playing so smart by the book, that don't make any mistakes. But this time there was countless unnecessary deaths. They were overforcing fights. They just got caught out so much. And ultimately, I think in the drafting department there's some minor adjustments you can make, but it started going wrong so early already with the lane swaps.
And sorry, it went wrong in draft when Mikyx locked in Nautilus. Can you explain as a support main, Medic, what's happening in this guy's mind when he picks Naut?
So I think part of it is compositional.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he is the primary engage for this team. You have Root Caller from the Ivan as like a non-committal engage, but most of the time it's Mikyx who has to lead the charge. But there are moments like the hook just before he dies here, where it feels like he just isn't on the same page with the rest of his team. It really was a tale of two supports. Labrov had incredible engages and was able to find the backline over and over again. And Mikyx, he was just all over the place. Hooks going in when they shouldn't be, hooks missing the walls, not immediately locking up the Rakan on a top lane play. Like, there were a lot of mistakes from Mikyx, and I love the guy and he's a great support, but this was an awful game.
Yeah, it was, and I feel like it was for G2 as a whole, and I know it's like, we really want to talk about that because, seeing G2 falter is kind of like a big story because it doesn't happen that often, but you're right, it happened 2 weeks ago, so why the hell should we not give BDS a chance in this one? And I think then we also have to highlight, Broxah, the fact that BDS played this as perfect as you can, right? Waiting for those mistakes, knowing that they'll do the same around the objectives, locking it down. There was only one time where they were a little out of place, and that was it.
Yeah, I mean, if you took the nameplates off, you would think it was G2 on BDS's side. I think this was a great example where G2 were overforcing, BDS is ready to respond, Mundo TPs in immediately. And what is surprising to me about this play is that you wouldn't expect G2 to brute force a fight, knowing that the enemy top laner has TP and Renekton's is in cooldown. But that's what they do. They just run in mindlessly, leads to BDS getting a Baron for free. And then even now, when the play should be over, our boy on the Nautilus continues.
As I saw him coming into frame on the Rift Tower, I was like, he's just dead. He's obviously dead in that situation. It's decisions like that, alongside that on that tri-bush play, if he pops the ultimate on Labrov, as soon as he sees Labrov, Labrov dies before he can dash out.
Yeah.
And it's just small things from Mikyx and small things from G2, and BDS being very happy to capitalize on it.
And it is that thing where we say we cannot bash a player by itself because it's usually a team decision. And I will say here kind of it was, right? Because you had no business trying to push that advantage mid because they were collapsing on you as well. I just want to have it said because I know how people receive these things. But still, it was a really bad game from him.
Well, I think ultimately we've seen time and time again that in order to be a top support in Europe, you got to have some dirty games once in a while. We have Mikyx, Huli, they're pretty much the same person in that regard. And
shout out Selfmade, we saw your tweet, we did.
Maybe next game we're going to see the opposite,
Yeah.
Hopefully.
We don't know. G2, they chose the blue side. So, are they thinking, we're happy with our comp, just we can't do these mistakes? It's pretty simple.
I think if you are G2, you're definitely going to look back at a game and realize all the countless mistakes you made that could easily have been avoided and just play a bit slower, a bit smarter perhaps. But also for the team comp, I don't think it was fully optimal. They had a lot of short range into the likes of Ezreal and Corki, and we saw time and time again in fights that they had a very, very hard time reaching them because who's going to go in? Nautilus, Renekton?
Yeah, Nautilus. The answer is yes. Nautilus.
It just didn't work out right.
No, okay, I see. So some tweaks to the composition. All right, we'll see. Jake, do you think they're going to stay with the same comp, or do they have to mix it up?
No, I don't think they should, and I don't think they will, because the Nautilus we have talked about, the priority was very, very early, and I don't think a lot of people think it was very good. I'm Hysterics, this is Dagda, this is Vedius, and Vedius even said, no, he doesn't like it.
I don't. I didn't like that.
He said it as menacing as that was.
That was him. No. Off camera, this guy is crazy. Like that, more of that.
No. 9, nicht so good. I would like to see them prioritize something else. Maybe they don't need to ban Rell and Braum. I think if you're BDS, you can sit there and go, you know what, we're happy getting Corki, Maokai every single first rotation, especially if you want to prioritize the Ashe, because they've shown that they're willing to swap. And that's already the first thing that G2 now have to find a game plan against. Was the dive the problem? Did they mis-execute on the swap? Do they care about BDS being willing to swap? And here's that adaptation. Maokai being banned means that G2 can now freely first pick their Ashe, and you imagine that BDS will just shift their priorities from Corki to, Corki Maokai to Corki Sejuani.
Yeah, and this is why I don't think it's necessarily that the Maokai was the problem. I think the idea of going for like the Nautilus, which is this heavy committal engage, having this composition that doesn't really scale too well, isn't really working out for them. So they're actually going to take the Rell immediately, which I do like, because at least it gives you a little bit of a better team fight, because you've got that AoE ult. But I wouldn't be surprised to see a Corki Ezreal come through here, or Sejuani Corki, something along these lines anyway, to just lock in a safer composition that can kite back, look for non-committal engage with the Sejuani, and BDS can just play out the same game they did in the last one.
I really like the Sejuani hover as well. That thought process, Corki going alongside has been pretty standard for 1-2, but at least this time around, I mean, G2 changing the engage tool is a nice adaptation. The priority on the Rell changes things. Where now, do we think about another AD carry? Where do we go?
There is also a world where you could go for the Zyra here if you really want to try and mix it up, because essentially what G2 are committing to, okay, not going to be the point, is a dive comp. Yeah, it's going to be Sejuani. I think it's fine. You just fight fire with fire, essentially, where you want to look for the team fights, but instead of looking for the kite back. But here, I think you can still go for the Ashe. You can still even take away the Ezreal if you really want to for Hansan.
Do you still flex that option in jungle of the Zeri you talked about before? We do have AP junglers available for Yike, but we have talked about what he's been successful on and what he hasn't been.
I think they could consider, I was going to say Ashe Kennen, but the Brand shaking things up a little bit. Brand, of course, did receive nerfs. We are playing on patch 14-15, which is why the champion has fallen in priority, but it does leave open things like the Lucian in mid lane if G2 want to go for that AD mid route. But honestly, Ashe seems like the safest pick. Of course, there's always the risk of a potential swap. But with Misfortune also open, a champion that we've seen consistently banned on the red side pretty much throughout season finals, something that Hansan was one of the early adopters of here in the LEC.
Yep.
They're going to go back to that, and already you can see the wombo combo potential starting to grow with G2's composition.
I am curious if you take the Ashe here for Ice, though. You can still have a lot of range in the lane phase. It makes it a little bit more difficult for Misfortune to try and land those double ups through the minion line onto you. You can try and fight with a lot of that pushback. So I like the Ashe pickup here. Also, again, it's a lot of this non-committal, long-range engage that BDS are playing with. And especially when you're looking at Rell and Misfortune, the opposite side, if you mess up an engage, that's punished immediately. But now the onus feels very heavily onto G2 to be the ones that get these big engages.
BDS can now ban away the Tristana and the... I just completely blanked.
Zeri?
It wasn't the Zeri that they banned last game. I've completely forgotten that.
Okay, I'll get there soon.
What?
I'll have a look.
I think that G2 should... Well, I was going to say that I think that they should... Now my brain is completely blanking. They should ban away the Alistar. That's the one I wanted to say. They should ban away the Alistar. I think Renata also makes sense to basically just take away some of those comforts for Labrov. But they're not going to do that. So I would be very surprised if we didn't see something like an Alistar come out from Labrov. Of course, it does hurt your ability to fight in the 2 versus 2. But I will say Ashe just has a lot of inherent power by herself in lane. So even though early levels, it might be a little bit difficult, I think that this is a lane that BDS shouldn't shy away from.
I do like the Renata ban, though, because I think what you're seeing is G2 correctly identify just how well BDS can try and play this, you know, at range, slow engages, play with patience. So getting rid of the Renata to try and counteract where G2 have to go for these high octane engages with the Rell is going to work out well. But it does mean Rakan taking the opposite side. And again, leaving this counter pick for Adam means that you kind of, with a revitalized champion pool for Adam, have a lot of options that he can go for.
Well, you're going to have to answer into that Aatrox wear for Broken Blade. Feels like a bit of a classic. One thing that I remember Broken Blade for at the start of the year as well is how he was piloting this champion when no one really touched him.
Also the tank killer, or at least the tank counter that we traditionally see. So this says to me that they believe Adam wants to go for something that's a bit more tanky, but we've already seen when you have the Sejuani there, I don't think you necessarily have to. So I'm curious if we do get some sort of AD carry into the top lane, or even something like the Rumble or a TF or something here as well.
I think Rumble is good. I will say that, well, I mean, let's just look holistically about the big changes that we're seeing in the drafts, because in game 1, G2 wanted to try and match BDS in terms of having this kind of, I would say front-to-back composition, but as Dagda highlighted, it really was more like they should have played more towards picks. This time around, G2 just have a stronger mid-game spike. Misfortune and Brand on what items are just strong. And so if G2 want to go for these early skirmishes, same for the Aatrox, they are much better set up for success with the late-game insurance of something like a Zeri and the engage from the Rell to give them more teamfight potential later on. BDS going for their tried-and-true style. Their front line is much weaker than it was before because they're replacing the Mundo with a Rumble. And while they do have good follow-up damage following the Sejuani or the Rakan or the Ashe, thanks to the Rumble being there, the biggest thing is they just have a lot more pressure on the top side of the map. They should be able to win out on that 1 versus 1 in the top lane. Mid will be fairly neutral, and I think that BDS should look to try and invest on that top side to put Broken Blade behind, similar to what G2 did in game 1 themselves.
And I think if BDS play this with patience, they're in a great spot. They have a lot of non-committal engage with Sejuani, Ashe, and you've got a long-range follow-up that can come through with the Rumble ult, with the Corki bombs and everything else. And when you look at G2, they're not actually particularly tanky. Like, you have an Aatrox that has to be a drain tank to really get a ton of value out. So if you can play this slow as BDS and just deny G2 these big engages to enable the Misfortune, the Brand ult that Betty was mentioning, I think BDS are in a decent spot.
Well, I mean, after game 1, they sure as hell are. They started the series so well, and G2 have been thrown back a bit as we start getting closer towards the end of this series, one way or another. BDS versus G2. Remember what's on the line. G2 win this, and we have our 3 Worlds teams locked in. I can't believe I'm saying this, but Mad would be going to Worlds. But before that, remember, you can be a master of the Rift, and I'm asking if you are. If you never want to miss a game, I have a question mark for you, and another question for you. Santander is here to reward you, of course. Head over to santandergaming.com to win weekly and monthly rewards like Hextech chests and skins. This week's code is Legend15. Now, Yike, are you going to walk into that bush, or is BDS going to do the electric boogaloo?
Well, he said toodaloo and walked away.
He's wearing sunglasses. The 2 of them are wearing sunglasses at night.
But I think the information that G2 wanted is there. They spotted Ice and Labrov moving up towards the top side, so expecting some sort of lane swap, I'd imagine. But now Ice and Labrov are trying to play off that and go, no, actually, maybe we just go in towards the bot side. But it's going to be a late invade into the bot lane. They spot Hansama.
It's a flash in. Hansama matches with his own. That's so worth. And they're going to commit to this as well. Sheo's looking for his first camp start in this red side jungle.
Split map would give BDS the opportunity to deny Hansama and Mikyx this early pressure on towards Ice and Labrov in the bottom lane. And it kind of seems a lot of these early level 1 strategies from BDS have been to try and deny Mikyx and Hansama control over their lane from the get-go. But we'll have to see how this one pans out, because there is always an opportunity for Yike to try and just turn the pressure now on towards Adam in the top lane and get Broken Blade this early lead.
I very much agree with you, Dagda. I think a tried and true strategy against G2 is attack their bot lane. We talked about it in the previous game, but when I think about G2 at their best, when it comes to their early game specifically, it was thanks to their bot lane. Draven, Kalista, Lucian. This was the type of champions and control they like to have, and BDS are trying to shut that down as Yike.
He's quite low. He should get a little bit of help here as he clears out the camps. Sheo just walks in, says, that is mine. Flash over the wall as well. Not only does Hans have no flash, but now Yike too.
Nicely done by Sheo. So the ward was placed defensively at the Raptors to spot out that Yike could come across. Now Labrov was aggressive in bottom lane, but it meant that Sheo could come across and kind of push Yike out. No flash on towards Yike means his ganks can be easily turned around. So Yike has to be very careful now if he tries to go for any sort of play in the lane.
seeing as well in the bot lane 2 versus 2 why Ashe is such a powerful laner. The range that she has, the slow that she applies, typically, especially on this Rakan, you shouldn't have that much control in the 2 versus 2 lane, but because Rell actually struggles to punish it, it's very committal in terms of your... Normally you start in the dismounted form, and then once you mount and you go for that early play, you can get some nice trades, but thanks to the range of this Ashe, Ice is playing the matchup well, and it's actually giving BDS control of the bot side of the map.
Shattering strike for Mikyx. He has to disengage, and you know, while you're talking about bot as well, don't forget, because of the passive of Ashe, you kind of get more guaranteed setups for Ws as well. Harder to move.
G2 are just baiting them in, though. Yike is in the bottom side.
Shattering strike, there's a cleanse as well, but the remount gets Ice up as we get the knock up. It's still going to be first blood over to Ice. He flashes and he gets out. Those 2 minions won't be enough with their range autos as Labrov is like, I will kill you, Hans, as Caps in mid lane's going to die as well. G2 is a melting pot, and the ingredient is top tier BDS.
A BDS just catching them out. Ice doesn't fall to the Q from Yike. But G2, they were trying to set up a bait on that bottom side, burn a bunch of spells from BDS, but now Hans, he stepped up.
He has indeed. There's a flash from Sheo. They're not going to commit. He's going back to his turret. Does this turn into a dive? Sheo over the wall could be it as Mikyx's now here, but they pull it off anyway. Ice runs in, but it won't be a kill. Meanwhile, Ice ran into the brand. A bit of a whoopsie here from the AD carry, but it is a 1-for-1 trade.
I mean, this is still best case scenario for BDS because they deny Hans this wave. Mikyx's trying desperately to keep the wave as far away from the tower as possible, as Hans is quickly making his way back into the bot lane.
Crashed.
But Ice is just, he's so damn good, man. Like, in game 1, he was able to find all these great early advantages, punishing the misplays that we saw from G2, and this time again, in a 2 versus 3, seeming to be the story of this series, he manages to make the outplay happen, he secures first blood, and now he finds himself with an early start.
And I think, again, we're talking about him because of how reliable he is once again, as Adam going to get pulled back in. Hang on, Broken Blade might have something here, but Ice has already moved on up. The AD carry to slow down as Adam flashes away. The wave is in the way.
Oh!
BB flashes and gets nothing for it. A harpoon to the face. And I think Broken Blade's mind is also broken.
It's a misplay for Broken Blade. He thought he could flash in range to land the auto with his passive, but the Ashe slow was enough to deny him the ability to make that turnaround play happen, and he loses his flash for nothing.
Mikyx?
Ice gets another.
Is he okay? That's the question. Adam's there. He's not going to commit the wave.
And that's the thing, Adam now able to TP to bot to catch that wave. The rotation from Ice to top allows him to push out that wave too. BDS doing some fantastic map movements in the early game. Now Ice does have to be careful here. No summoners against an Aatrox could be scary.
But this is what BDS did in summer, was these early rotations top for the Void Grubs that are about to spawn in 20 seconds. Leaving Labrov down on the bot side, though, was a great extra because it meant that Adam now ticks over towards level 6 very soon, so it's harder to punish. But Ice,
is it a bait? I mean, the dunk's going to come through. There's good damage. One more auto would seal the deal, but Broken Blade has to get in range, as Sheo's not going to let him. And look, Labrov is here as well. Permafrost, knock up. Ice's autos. He's staying just out of range so he can do some damage. He baits him back in, but Ice will not give it over. A volley might even get the kill here, as it's just out of range with Mikyx now coming on in. The World Ender pulled on in as Ice eventually will he die? No! Guardian Labrov, they're chasing down Mikyx as well. G2, what has happened in the break? They are getting absolutely map diffed by BDS.
The champions of Europe are falling to the heroes of BDS as Ice and Labrov run rings around the G2 players. 6-1 in kills, a 2k goal lead, and game 2 is looking nothing but BDS favored.
Man, is this actually going to be the moment the BDS training arc pays off?
Oh
they take down G2 and move on to a potentially going to the world stage after that. But Ice, this was so close. One more auto from BB would have been enough, but he just plays at the edge of his range really well here. And every time BB steps up, just can't get through to it. And then as they start to put pressure on, I mean, Broken Blade does a good job of buying a lot of time for Mikyx to get here, but I want you to watch Labrov. Lands the Q, then W's over to Ice to get the hill off the Gleaming Quill, and then sets up for the follow-up as Mikyx walks away in die perform and isn't too happy.
And how frustrating is that Ice also gets the kill off the back of that as well, as Adam now goes back to top as we come back to live. And man, there you go. After game number 1, he's doing it again. He's playing on the edge this time as well on that Ashe. That's now hit level 6, and game 1 damage is a bit high.
Yeah.
It's
44% of the team's damage in game 1.
It's also really interesting to see why BDS are playing around him this game, because they've been leaving him as these like solo moments to get the experience. Like Sheo wants to dive on Sama.
I mean, I want to know if Hans is dead, but Ice is just taking turret aggro. This is a bit of a whoopsie here as the Brand ulti spreads and Hans gets a bit of a kill. Sheo now in a bit of trouble as well as his flash is almost back up and available, but it won't be there in time. A double over to Hans is a bit of a comeback from G2. While the World Ender in the top lane is Adam dodging the sweet spots, but all of them is a question mark as he tries to turn it around. G2, some gold in that bottom lane is just what the doctor ordered.
Now this is the thing you have to be cautious of. The excitement, the energy. BDS have to be feeling it after finding all those advantages, but G2 is a team of experienced veterans at this point that can easily brush off that type of deficit. They've already shown multiple times their tendency to find ways back into games, whether it be through smart macro moves in the mid game or simply hero individual outplays, and BDS can't afford to be making these mistakes because G2 will look to pounce. Now BDS will find themselves in a very strong position, but you look at your bottom of your screen and you can see that after all those map movements, after all that action that's been happening,
He might be called out, the crash down. Labrov will get the knock up on the way out. That might just save his life. Vedi, I know you're about to talk about the gold lead, right? It's not much individually between, and now Hans Summer has the lead.
Exactly. There's that experience difference starting to grow. There's that gold lead that's starting to build, and if that was another kill for Hans, that could have been a very serious situation that BDS had to be cautious of.
And let's remember as well, with these early plays from BDS, it's not like it came with objectives. There were kills. But Grubs are going to go over 3 to G2 here in this early game, and Dragon as well.
Yeah, the fact you got that early Dragon for G2 is working out wonders for them, because either now you have a situation where if you can try and play through these early Dragon controls set up for team fights, that's where G2 will shine with a composition like this, or you can just look to leverage the fact that BB has been winning out in these side lane trades against Adam. Okay, let's all travel topside, see if we can get a turret out of it, open up the map, put pressure onto BDS.
So, an exciting start for BDS, but when we look holistically, the advantage that they find themselves in, not as significant as initially believed. Of course, still in a great spot. They find themselves with leads across the board, but nothing so significant that G2 need to be especially terrified of. We're still looking towards that mid game. You'll notice that the Locket of the Iron Slayer being completed for Sheo, but no other core items are completed just yet. Once these come through, this is going to be a scary spot for BDS, because in game 1, we talked about how, remember, the Ashe and the Zeri, once they hit that first item spike, it was difficult to compare that to the double Trinity Force spike that BDS had for themselves. On the inverse, you can see that these damage items from G2 are going to be crucial in that mid game, and they should have an advantage over BDS if they can find those fights.
Depends on ISO for now, making it rain as Shattering Strike sets up for the follow down, but Mikyx going to get turned on and just dies? No! The shield comes through and Ice has to cleanse to get out of range. Shield also burned by Labrov as Hans Summer might not be out of the woods yet. We're getting a Gleaming Quill, a bait in. Labrov is just dead! He was trying to bait for Sheo to come in, but Hans Summer just takes him down with ease.
I don't think he realized that the ward was in the brush, so you just get a couple of autos from Hans Summer and Labrov ends up going down. I mean, unfortunately, he looked like he was trying to set up for a play for Sheo to come in, but gives his life instead.
Both supports only just ticked over to level 6. Mikyx at the end of the play while he was disengaging, and Labrov as he just entered the brush. As you rightly said, he was setting up for that play for Sheo, but he waited just a little too long and he underestimated the damage from the Hans Summer's MF. Look at the Bloodthirster now completed as well. The Dragon is alive, and this Misfortune is ready to fight. And this is the period in time that BDS have to be respectful of how strong Hans Summer is.
Labrov just getting cut out to the side, so you look at Ice trying to push in that bottom side. Doesn't have ultimate available just yet, but trying to get control over the wave states so then he can move over towards this Dragon Pit as Adam looks onto Broken Blade.
Wait, equalized there as well. Broken Blade has the ulti too, but it's a flash to commit. Electro Harpoon for the slow. He's about to overheat, but he wants that auto attack damage. Another Electro Harpoon would set him off, but Caps is now teleported in. That's not fair. The ulti comes through. He tries to burn him alive. It's great damage, but not enough. Teleport committed for the kill on top side, while BDS are like, we got to do Dragon now.
And it's a good move from G2, because Broken Blade's TP wasn't going to be up for Dragon. Adam had his, so learning from the last game and saying, hey, we can't really take a fight 4 versus 5. Let's instead use that early Dragon we picked up, transport Caps to the top side, make a play, get plates from now as well. that's a huge swing of gold over towards G2.
I will also say the Broken Blade's just been bullied in the early game, right?
Yeah.
We saw an Ashe AD carry ganking him at level 5. We also then saw the whole squad ganking him again upon his return. It was about time that he got some assistance from his team, and as you rightly said, Dagda, look at how much Caps is benefiting off the back of this. Finding himself earlier at a deficit due to his death, he now gets himself a kill, he gets himself 2-3 plates, and he's finding himself now with a healthy gold lead, first item completed in a very good spot. Oh, wow. I mean, I'm not sure if that was, I forget if the first plate was initially taken, but he finds himself in a very good spot, and now Nuke looking to try and match. G2 definitely not down and out, and again, while it was a very exciting sequence of events from BDS, we enter the mid game where G2 find themselves with a slight advantage.
Yes, like gold lead right as well. Now playing around top side, Yike is just looking for that pick, but Nuke with the Valkyrie out as Herald spawns in 5 seconds, or rather, the end of Grubs, I should say, as Ice's Summer also move mid, but Bullet Time gets Ice to half HP.
Yeah, as Ice though, I think you're kind of happy to get that because you can always look for picks with the Ashe ult as Labrov and Sheo start to move down river, and that's what Hansama needs to be careful of. G2 trying to cut off the reinforcements, so Labrov will have to just back away over towards Ice.
Going to be started by G2 at the very least. We've also got a static shift, by the way, for Ice. You know, this time we don't need to compare between builds for the Ashes. This is going to be 5 grubs, 6 grubs actually, as Hansama going to get ulted. He cleanses away immediately, damages huge. Labrov can't get the knock up, so Ice has to flash away. Hansama has been standing his ground this game, and it's now paying massive dividends.
You're seeing the strength of Misfortune and
are.
why she was respected so much. We know over in the LPL she is a very high priority pick, and Europe respected in the same way. Hans having a great play.
Angles there, blocked by Mikyx though, but the equalizer is perfect. Mikyx flashes away, but Nuke burns him down immediately. The burst unreal, and BDS with a quick pick.
A good collapse from BDS gives them control of the mid wave and opens up the Herald, but we turn our attention to the side lanes and look at those towers. Aatrox bashing away at the bot lane tower, being able to push in that wave. On the top side, the Zeri about to secure that tower, as well as the mid finds itself in a very low spot. So BDS do find that kill. Looks like they're not going to convert it into the Herald, and I think that G2's not too unhappy about that.
Yeah, I think it's as you were saying, Betty, with both side lanes under pressure, they can't really turn towards the Herald, so instead look to defend towers. But with the quicker resets coming through now for G2, they should be the ones that are able to set up for that Herald. Only question mark for me is how low Hansama's mana is in the mid lane, because he won't be as effective in a team fight if he doesn't have that ultimate available, and with only 35 mana, he won't be able to bring that one out. So I'm not sure exactly what the plan is here. Maybe it's gift blue buff over towards Hansama so he can test Rift Herald.
Noticing on the top lane with Mikyx trying to set up for a play, G2 trying to play around Caps yet again. Herald will start regardless though as we chat about it. Yike is just going to take blue first, then move, and with Hansama now ulti back up and available in his flash, you can see that the priority for BDS has to quickly get this wave and then not stick around.
G2 with control around the objective. Kind of in their forte this time around. Broken Blade sitting on a ward. He doesn't know this. He thinks that BDS aren't familiar with his game, but they very much are. Ashe Arrow.
Like playing Where's Wally, but you know where he is the whole time. You're just playing for your son. For the meantime, Broken Blade gets stunned up, and Ice tries to turn it around. There's a good quickness though, and Ice ends up getting the kill. That was a nice bait as first turret goes down.
I don't think they wanted to invest the quickness, but they kind of saw how much damage was going onto Ice, and they were like, maybe we don't risk this. So Broken Blade will be collapsed on once more. Adam now alone in the top lane probably will equalize the wave just to make sure that he doesn't get any sort of pressure on him, but actually there's just no one on G2 there, so he's going to be fine.
Again though, you look at the map state. Yes, BDS, they committed 3 members to finding that pick onto Broken Blade, and I believe they also stole away the red buff, but mid tower gone, top tower gone.
Yeah.
In terms of actual map control, G2 continues to find those advantages, and with the Herald, they can look to bring that bot if they want to threaten the setup on the next dragon. They could keep it mid to threaten the tier 2 tower to then have that guaranteed mid control, so that BDS is forced to take the long way around back to contest that wave, then giving G2 easy access into the river. It's G2 that kind of gets to decide how the next sequence of plays happen, unless BDS can find a pick, and it looks like they set their sights on Hans.
Well, it's the ulti again. Flash misses from Sheo. Hans still flashes though, so you'll take a small win for BDS here, 15 seconds from Dragon.
And the cleanse was still down, so that could have been it. That could have been the moment that BDS needed, but swing and a miss, and now G2 will get the last outer turn on the bot side as BDS try to cut off Caps, but there's just no way that they can do it.
Rob doesn't want to take the pick. Instead, Caps just goes over the wall, pushes him out. Second Dragon for G2 now looking more likely here as the health bar does come into advantage in BDS for IOA.
It's Broken Blade that's been brought into mid lane to push out that wave. With the fact that they have that pushing wave in bot as well. Yeah, BDS, I mean, they don't have the Sejuani ultimate. One of their key engages, they said that it's not worth trying to force the fight. They'll just take the flash away from Hansama. Second Dragon secured for G2, third of the game. And I will say, it was looking scary for G2 after BDS found themselves 6-1 up in kills.
I thought that was a horrible early game, yeah.
I thought that it was going to end in disaster, but credit to them, they found some great individual plays. They made some good map movements, and they steadied their nerves. Many teams can collapse in a situation like that, but they've kind of re-attained that map control. And now we enter the mid to late game. This mid game is where you start to see those 2-item spikes. This is where some of the most important fights of the game happen. And this is what a team can either build a solid lead to then look to close things out, or it's where the chaos can begin.
I do think the windows of opportunity for BDS to create that chaos are kind of gone, though. That play in the mid needed to succeed because now all these outer turrets being down means that G2 just get to push in all these waves. They get to establish vision. It becomes way more difficult to look for picks with Ice, look for picks with Sheo, as long as that vision control is there for G2. And with BDS kind of been investing all that time and resources into the mid lane, now they're scrambling to try and get control back of the map, which is why G2 immediately run bot here.
Equalizer's going to be clearing the wave, though. That buys a bit of time, but Herald gets snapped on down. And speaking of the snap engage, Mikyx has to move away, and Labrov there gets zoned out as Herald will still charge, but this won't be a dead turret. BDS there to defend. But again, coming back to the state of the game, I think it's important to note that we've been sitting on Hansama for 2 items here for a little bit as well. He's got that advantage, and we know it's because of the gold lead individually. But mid, especially there, with 1,600 over for caps, it's no surprise that G2 feels so confident now when their 80 carries are so damn strong.
It's the scary thing about Caps. Nuke had a good control over Caps in the previous game where we saw Nuke constantly moving into those side lanes, getting those resources funneled into him. But when BDS are being the proactive team, looking for these plays around the map, Caps has just been quietly farming in the side lane, as he often does. And Odoamne loves to describe it as Caps isn't a problem up until he is.
Okay.
And I think it's safe to say Caps is a bit of a problem right now.
And I think that it was that initial play on towards the top side, the one where they traded for Dragon, that really set up Caps for that big lead, and now he just gets to reap the benefits as G2 bully their way onto the bottom side. BDS are trying to leave Nuke on this top end to see if he can maybe get some gold into him and try and fight back, but with everyone on 2 items for G2, or at least close to it, especially in the carry role, that's where you start to become a threat for G2, where they can just continue this Dragon stacking, look towards Baron now, and just continue taking these outer turrets.
Getting that deep tower and bot also just sets you up better for the Baron, because now you have the option as this Zeri or as this Aatrox to be able to deep push in that bot side and then look to try and TP, and you kind of create this mountain of pressure that BDS have to deal with. Hansama, no flash, remember.
That pick again, the arrow connects. The cleanse is available though, but used again as the quickness locks him down. They need to commit, and they full do. Shut down over to Nuke as they turn it over to Mikyx. He went in deep after his 80 carry dropped on down, but now with Caps here in full lightning surge, BDS take a bit of damage on the exit, but the pick finally pays off.
They do get a pick, but it's not really getting them much control back over the map. Broken Blade still pushing in that top side. They weren't able to turn with really any damage on towards Mikyx or anyone else on G2, so at this stage, yes, it's a pick, but it's not going to really snowball out of control.
I will say that they're demonstrating what G2 should have been doing in game 1, how to use the Ashe, constantly looking for those picks in the hopes of converting it into an opportunity. I just think that the problem is that it's not just one side lane that's constantly under barrage, when it's 2.
Oh, Mikyx flashes away. Okay. Man is ever so dangerous in both these games.
Losing his flash there, very much a big mistake. But the problem for BDS is the fact that typically you find this pick, and then even if you can't push in that mid wave, in theory you could rotate that pressure to bot, and then you can open up a tower there. But it's this double side lane threat. They're finding picks onto a single member while the rest of G2 are kind of just constantly putting pressure everywhere, whether it be their side of the jungle, their side of the map, these side lanes. Like, it's very annoying for BDS to deal with, because there's just all these threats that are just kind of being obnoxious. And again, we look at it, look at where Caps is right now. BDS are doing the right thing. They're overcommitting members towards the top side of the map to start threatening that tier 1 tower to kind of open up that side. It's good control, patient play, what you're supposed to do. But meanwhile, mid is being pushed in. That bot jungle is completely denied of all vision. Caps continues to take resources and push in this bot wave, and it's hard for BDS.
And BDS, with committing everything to top side, now aren't going to have control over mid wave because Caps could always threaten mid. That opens up vision control over a river area in the spot side jungle of BDS with Dragon in just a few moments. So even though BDS get the tower, it's still G2 heavily focused on these objectives and now going to put the hurt onto BDS if they enter into jungles.
I mean, into jungle they go. It's the start of Han Summer as he looks to set up now with the BF sword in inventory too. He's got old bag of shoes sitting in there without upgrades, but damage not to be undermined as G2 just get a free dragon start. You can see TP even committed towards mid lane. Caps gets back to the wave, and BDS are coming late to the show.
But Caps just wants to keep the mid wave turret down, and because he's got Runins, great, he's done it. Now G2 might actually look for the fight after, but they're just going to try and force BDS back. Broken Blade isn't on the map though, so they do have to be a little careful about posturing as aggressively as this, but with BDS now only really starting to enter in the mid lane, there's not much that they can do.
3 dragons to 1, 5 kills to 9. The gold relatively even. Oh, there's the ulti.
Pick set up onto Yike, and Arrow follows through as well. Equalizer layered on top. Now they're looking for the poke, but Nuke can't stay for long. Yike's burning down still, but the red buff, I think it's enough to keep him alive as well as the level up. BDS, their pick tools down.
One rocket from Nuke went into a minion and couldn't quite get towards Yike, so could have been that finishing move, and again, just that one pick, but G2 managed to hold. They will still keep control over the river area and will stop BDS really starting to surmount anything off that place.
The thing that surprises me is he didn't flash. Yike held his nerve and chose to keep the summoner spell all the way up until the end. The problem now for BDS is they've got no tools left. They've basically thrown them all out the window, and G2 say, okay, we will take control of this Baron. And they can use it to start a fight knowing that they have an ult advantage.
And Nuke is on the bottom side. They want to get his teleport out, so BDS, what are you going to do?
And look at where Mikyx is as well. Hex flash the wrong way. Doesn't want to commit just yet. He's spotted out by a wall, but Baron's already started up. At 5k, it's going down fast. It burns as BDS put this game 2 on the line. Caps ulti out as well. He starts firing as Mikyx gets burned down, though. The health bar's not great until they turn it with Han Summer's ulti. Broken Blade is unleashed and flapping his wings at Sheo. Caps unleashes as he gets too low to continue on. Nuke is still a threat. Baron is stopped. The game is halted for now.
4 seconds on Ice's ultimate, so they were trying to see if they could draw G2 out long enough to look for that play. Ice is still stepping up. Okay. Hans might be the focus of this Ashe arrow.
He's got cleanse available, so maybe they can pull it out, but Ice just volleys, backs away. Baron will not be recontested for now. So if you call that a win for stopping Baron, I don't blame you, but again, more gold over to G2 in the end.
Ultimately, I think it's a good decision from G2, knowing that they have the ult advantage. Mikyx, as you rightly called, Hysterics, hesitates on the initial engage. They wait for Sheo to step up, and then Mikyx kind of gets locked down here. He becomes the target, and then you'll notice this engage didn't quite go the way they wanted, but the CC landed onto Adam, and that was enough to create a 1-for-1 situation. Then G2 want to try and make the chase happen, get as many summoner spells out as possible. They get another flash from both Ice and Sheo, meaning they find themselves in a good spot to potentially threaten the Baron once more.
Remember in this game when Caps was almost up 2k gold? Nuke is now caught up. 200 is the barrier between them right now. 3 items apiece. Nuke once again on this Corki, really farming up a storm.
Just Corki things, man.
Yeah, I know. Also the champion. Yeah, the champion influences a little bit as well.
But still, I mean, if BDS can just continue fishing for these picks, they're now starting to get the damage that can actually ramp it up into potentially a lot more. The downside is having burnt that teleport on Nuke to get to the play. If BB and Caps can just wait for their own teleports to be up, they can play the map. But G2 want the play.
Caps over with the ulti as well. Surges into Adam. Adam's in trouble and flashes immediately. Broken Blade now unleashes, but the arrow stops him in tracks. He could have gone in with his flash over the wall, so Ice disengages the fight.
It's 2 ultis gone in exchange for 2. Ice and Adam burning their ultimates for Caps and Broken Blades. Dragon about a minute and a half. And again, we talked about in the previous game, the reason why you have these kind of mid lane ARAM situations is because it's the fight over the mid wave, and AD carries with so much wave clear. Normally it's just a numbers difference that help guarantee it. So normally what you'll see is these push on sides again. You look at bot lane right now, it's in G2's interest to keep BDS as 5 in mids, because BDS are then just losing farm on the bot side of the map, right? So they're going to go catch that wave. He's going to go push this one out. And G2 put themselves in a fairly good spot as BDS kind of reset the map to neutral.
Also, just G2 matching the early resets from BDS here for Dragon. This is something that BDS has been doing pretty consistently. He's kind of resetting around a minute 10 before that Dragon starts, so they can get control of their own jungle, start to set up some offensive vision in River, and then they just stay out on the map that little bit longer. But G2 have matched them here, so they're matching when BDS are trying to set up that vision with 45 seconds left until Dragon's up.
Labrov is the one fishing for now, and this guy has a Warmogs, by the way, so he can heal, and Mikyx cannot if there's any kind of pick or any kind of poke. Now, gentlemen, pretend I'm your therapist. 30 seconds until Dragon comes in. Start venting to me. What are the problems here as BDS look for an angle?
Well, my support has left me from my jungle, so now Mikyx's going to die.
So maybe we need to talk about that in a later session. Mikyx runs away. The arrow hits on Yike, by the way. It's down with the equalizer as they're throwing everything in the kitchen sink into G2. Hansama flashes away while Labrov goes full commit. Quickness there, but minions in the way. Adam gets poked on the way out too, and BDS have used some tools here while Hansama starts healing up.
But Caps is still going in that top side, so BDS, they need to try and start up this objective, but it's a second Dragon. For an inhibitor turret?
Oh,
I take that every day of the week as G2.
I'm scared because Broken Blade's on a flank as well with everything up and available. He won't be spotted out. He gets zoned out until the Ward and Dragon going down while Caps, as you said, is getting the top lane turret. Dragon does indeed get denied by BDS for the soul, but Caps has taken it all, broken the base down, and now G2 have an entry point.
And what you said was close between the mid laners is now a 2k gold lead for Caps, just like that. Being able to take that side lane control. And it was a nice idea from BDS. You could see the separation between Yike and Mikyx meant that they were able to try and orchestrate something of a pick, but unfortunately it was such a split call with so many different directions that they just didn't have enough damage to take anyone down. So yes, they get the Dragon, but G2, it's a second Ocean Dragon. You crack the base, you take that all the time.
Yeah.
And for viewers at home wondering why didn't Yike gamble it, flip it, right? Why didn't he try and make that concept? Well, first thing, he didn't have flash available. So that's the key part. But also, it just wasn't in G2's interest. If they try and force that fight 4v5 and they lose, then Baron becomes an immediate option for BDS. And all that control, all that setup that you've just gained for yourself would be thrown away. So you're fine delaying the Ocean Soul because BDS will find themselves in the exact same position in 4 minutes time. So instead, you take the wins that you can get, you concede what you don't want to gamble, and you'll be happy with the position that you find yourself in. Caps, once again, finds himself in a side lane.
Does he win this 1v1?
I think he does.
Okay, well, we're about to find out because Caps is going to take it. You know that he's coming over the wall. Here's a lightning surge. Nuke gets out of the way, but Caps starts chasing, but out of range until he flashes the arrow.
Oh, no way!
The arrow from downtown! Vanilla Ice gives a shutdown over to Nuke, but Broken Blade takes one in response, but now he's in the middle of the whole of BDS. This guy, as an addition to the LEC, was insane by BDS, but now the Baron for the cost. G2 are quick with the fingers too.
And they have to finish it off, and they'll be able to take it. BDS weren't able to get a position, so it's 2 kills for 1. But how much can BDS get off the back of this? These backs are going to be stopped by Labrov, so BDS can keep pushing.
I question whether BDS needed all 5 members on the bottom side of the map, even if they just had 1 or 2 on the top side to delay G2 from securing that objective. Perhaps there was a world in which they could answer the Baron, because I guess from G2's perspective, yes, they did lose 2 members, but they still got the Baron off the back of it. BDS doing their best to get something more as they secure 2 towers in the mid lane, but ultimately, Baron secured for G2.
And this is where we have to see if G2 can get the value out of it. If you can start to look for, plays underneath the tower with Hansama's ultimate, Yike's ultimate, push BDS off these turrets, you can force BDS back into the base, and suddenly that top turret being down is super important for G2. But if you can play for picks as BDS, slow down this Baron, that's where you can find moments here as BDS to come back.
And you know why I love that pick point, Dagda, is because from that play, they burn Caps' flash. They get Broken Blade's flash as well. They are more vulnerable on the side of G2, where BDS, as you already rightfully said, and you both said at the start of the game, there's nice non-committal engage in this comp with Sejuani with the Ashe. For BDS, it feels like this Dragon fight, or at least set up over the next 2 minutes, and denying the Baron is going to be the most crucial point of Game 2.
G2 are just grouping up to deny that pick, though. They want to have nothing to do with BDS's Ashe arrows anymore. They just want to make sure they can play. But Caps is spotted in mid, so this could be the moment where BDS realize G2 are overextended a little bit and might look for something. But both Nuke and Ice clearing out the mid wave as quickly as possible.
The turret for now. We're waiting for that equalizer to be layered down. Adam holds onto the trigger as BDS move and just wait to see what Caps does in response.
Yeah, they need Caps to push in this mid wave before they can really commit to the bot side play. Notice that they're not immediately fast pushing that bot wave because they need to wait for this mid wave to catch up. BDS is trying to set up for a play onto Caps. He doesn't, of course, have the Baron buff, which means that most of the pressure is on the bot side where you'll find both Ice and Adam. The tower is getting slowly chipped away, but BDS are holding the line. Ultimately, this is just a pressure play to allow G2 to get control over this bot side jungle, ready for the dragon spawning in a minute's time.
Cap's position in the mid lane's great, though. He's always positioned beside this wall, so if Labrov ever comes in or anyone comes over that wall, he can always hop out, so making it impossible for BDS to really punish him. They are getting control over the jungle, though, which is going to dissuade a lot of that G2 pressure. As it goes
call.
Labrov!
He's still thinking about it. Quickness is there. Remember, he has everything up and available, but Caps gets over the wall. Not far enough! He doesn't get to play Subway Surfers in game 2.
And it's Labrov who constantly has the right idea, waiting on the flank that entire time. Dagda was talking about how Caps was doing his best to respect it, but the second that he doesn't, Labrov is lying in wait and ready to pounce.
And now you've got 30 seconds on Dragon. You have no pressure on that top side, nowhere to draw BDS away, and a lot of those ultimates should be back up and available, but BDS actually went for the reset, so G2 might be in a position to try and look for a pick of their own. Broken Blade trying to sneak in behind. They know there's no vision here.
20 seconds on Caps. He has the TP available. This is a choke point for G2. A Rumble ultimate.
But wait, Labrov can just fire back the equalizer. Beautiful, but Broken Blade fires first. I mean, the problem is he hasn't died just yet. The poke needs to come through and finish the job as G2 are getting low. Adam flashes forward. The Electro Harpoon not connecting as he goes golden. BDS haven't got the commitment just yet as Mikyx stuns him in place, but it's messy. The arrow in the backfire as G2 collapsed. BDS came in today ready to pack their clothes, their shoes, their boats, their motorcycles, and go to Munich.
I mean, it's a good fight, Hysterics, but okay, they should be able to convert it into the Dragon. I was worried, given their HP bars, that they wouldn't be able to, but question marks for G2 trying to force the 4v5. They could have just stalled, waited for Caps to respawn. There was 10 seconds left on that timer the moment that they started that fight, but it was over before he could really get involved in the action.
And time again, G2 have shown that they will make mistakes, and BDS are looking for those punishments. They catch Cap. This fight, incredible equalizer from Adam. Hansama tries to open up with an ultimate of his own, but he can't get the positioning, and BDS, they play it slow. The flash forward with the Zhonya's means G2 have no real target. Nuke now forces so many members of G2 away. The arrow cleansed by Hansama, but all it did was buy the space that BDS needed to finish off those members of G2. And now, although that's not you get that gold, it's more important for map state. G2 don't have control to put pressure onto that top inhibitor. G2 no longer have control of these dragons. It's 3 apiece, and now they will be forced to fight BDS. And if BDS can continue to look for these picks that G2 have fallen for, it only becomes easier when you're on a more even footing in the game.
The truth is that G2 is out of sorts. Given the map state that they had, we don't even have to go that far back to think of this team that at the beginning of the year said they really wanted to focus on improving their mid-game. They wanted to make smart map decisions. They wanted to be better at converting early game leads into clean games and early game deficits into strong comebacks thanks to good map movements. And we saw the benefits of that once they made it to MSI. But here in the series against Fnatic, we're seeing them flounder. We're seeing them make poor decisions and get punished for it. The foundation of BDS, they've been called a gatekeeper for a reason. Their fundamentals are solid, and if you make too many mistakes, they'll punish.
They could be the gatekeepers behind G2 top 3, but Mikyx
it's a Magastorm in, but it's on the engage tool, so can take it up. The equalizer is a counter engage as the arrow flies through yet again. Mikyx at half HP, and Broken Blade's here to shine. Sheo flashes away, but Labrov in the backline gets quickness, and Caps gets out though. That E over the wall saves his life. No summoner needed to be burned, and BDS, the tools are down again.
Let's track once again the things that we used. Every single ultimate is gone from the side of BDS, but they have the health advantage. G2 still have Zeri's ultimate. They still have Hans' ultimate, crucially.
Waiting to see if G2 can fight back. We've criticized them, we've looked at their gameplay, but BDS are now in front of the Baron. Yike is looking for a steal, but they won't give it to him. Great poke that comes through from Nuke, and they turn back and they take the purple worm. Another road built up inch by inch in game 2 again.
Look at Ice's ultimate though. This Ashe cooldown is so low. Caps tries to go in, but Ice can turn soon. That's the ultimate available now for the Ashe.
Mikyx doesn't have flash available, so he can't make that distance. BDS move up to the top side. They've got Baron enhanced recalls. Mikyx wants to stop this by himself, but Mikyx will get turned and burned and everything in between. Ice gets the kill. Now Caps runs up, but he knows he can't stick around.
The ults are coming back off cooldown, so BDS are going to start to chase Sheo's. Now just off cooldown.
Blood in the water. Caps is going to have to get himself a QSS. Thank you dearly, he says, but now that item is down.
And Adam still pushing in mid. They can continue this pressure across the map because they're forcing G2 back. They overextend Broken Blade. Where are you going?
Oh my god, he sidesteps so, but he's still going to get pulled back. Equalizer still goes down, but Adam is down. Broken Blade gets some golden. Yike gets redemption down a little bit lower. It's a pick for G2, but it won't stop BDS from the top side.
It's chaos right now. BDS wanted to reset after the Baron, but after finding that pick onto Mikyx, they knew that they could push their advantage. They set their sights on the tier 2.
I wasn't sure if their Caps wanted to TP in onto that top side. They spotted Nuke, and he'd gone for the reset, but not going to be able to chase him down, or hadn't reset, but... Sorry, to interrupt, Vedius.
I mean, you're all good. I mean, we're getting an exciting situation because of the chaos that we are devolving into. 38 minutes on the clock. The soul has to go to somebody, gentlemen, and we're a minute away from that fight. BDS have done some good damage to the structures of G2. We find ourselves 7-5 in towers. And the contest over the mid wave begins once more. Bot wave being pushed in by Broken Blade, no TP available for him. And we calm down as we set up for the ensuing fight.
Because Baron is still running while this Dragon Soul is going to be up as well. But the engage starts with Mikyx, but again, it's on the front line until Ice dies in the mix of it as well. BDS have found their way back as they look for Broken Blade here in the front to back, plays it out. Nuke is still alive, but the health bars are shattered. And with Ice down, that's a big tool that BDS have been relying on.
And now 30 seconds until you can get that Dragon up, but Labrov can look for the reset, come back into the fight, but BB down, Mikyx down, you have no engage. This is a very squishy comp for G2.
Boy, doesn't have a Warmogs, but he's still healing up. Yike flashes in though, and he lands everything! Yike gets turned on still though, Nuke doesn't die, the redemption helps out again. How does Nuke not die? As Caps is burnt down, and now Adam is looking for the Electro Harpoon. He doesn't land it, but Dragon's up in 10 seconds. As Caps, a crucial mistake. The legend of the mid lane has blundered in front of BDS.
And BDS have the man advantage. The soul is in front of them. Only Hans is alive with Mikyx making his way back out on the map. But they don't have the resources. They don't have the manpower to fight this. A situation that should have gone so well for G2. BDS find the outplay, and they will secure the soul.
No way.
Unsama is stunned up in place. He doesn't have Merc Trades. He's dead. Ice is going to slow him down at the very least. He doesn't want to take the 1v1 or lose the GA, but Hans being delayed here is massive for the game. The W slow, Nuke's here, Hans dies, and his death timer is desynced with the rest of G2.
Nuke is going nuclear. 10, 1, and 6 on the Corki. We look back at this engage, and it's Mikyx that finds a great ulti to set up for Hans Summit. It's a 1-for-1 trade as Nuke gets good damage off. But then Broken Blade becomes a little bit isolated as Adam TP's in. Caps hesitates to get involved in the fight. Hans doesn't quite have the range, and the cooldowns are there for Yike, meaning that they can't get an additional kill. And now they overstep. A nice stun is going to connect from Yike, but it's not enough as BDS find themselves on the siege.
The Gatekeepers want to become the Kingmakers as they go for Caps.
QSS down again. Sheo just pops the ulti, gets the item. Easy done deal. We shake on it, and BDS open up the base. Mid is now in tatters as bot is going to be the same, and BDS could it be the 2-0 start? No one expected it. Everyone said they're underdogs, but G2 are getting pummeled.
They certainly are. BDS, they have the souls, they have GAs. They're looking to secure their second inhibitor, and it is G2 that is crumbling.
Now, don't let me be disingenuous. A pummel is not the right word, but you know that BDS at this point now is starting to do it with all the tools that my gents here talked about. Ocean Soul keeps them nice and healthy as the bottom inhibitor's broken. Mid the same. G2 are now playing on the defensive here as BDS aren't done with their siege. Arrow flies through. There's Equalizer as well. Broken Blade gets out though. Redemption shows it might be a bit too deep here. Also with Yike sending out the ulti, BDS disengage.
But again, it's that non-committal engage. Just fish for a play. Did it work out? No.
True. Okay,
we're going to back away. Mid until Baron. We don't have to overforce things. We have super minions now in mid and bot. We can just play off that top wave, push that in, force G2 into their own base, and fall back to Baron and secure it safe.
You know, it's BDS that find themselves and an opportunity to do something that they've always struggled to do, and that is go 2-up in a series against G2. there's only a very small problem.
Betty, don't say it.
BDS have a history of being reverse swept.
I know, but Betty.
Now, of course, they still need to win this game. They still got to close things out. And we can address that problem when we get to it.
Yep.
But that thought lingers at the back of my mind as BDS continue to find these avenues, these angles of attack that punish the mistakes that we've been seeing from G2.
The only two teams that have done it are Fnatic and Mad Lions, who are waiting for them if they can try and close out this series as well. But BDS pushing now on top side. Just play it slow. You don't need to try and do anything fancy. Let the minions do the work for you. Use that top wave, and you can see now G2, they've cleared out mid, which actually gives them a relatively good chance to try and contest this Baron as it spawns. I think BDS might be skipping some steps here.
But Nuke is a 6-item Corki, so his zone control is insane. As G2 know walking in, they can get nuked. And I mean that as both a pun and it's a lot of fun for BDS's mid laner. G2 walk up and try and clear the wave again.
No pressure on G2 on the map, so they can continue to put pressure onto BDS instead. Rob hovering just up the wings. It goes wide.
Sheo doesn't connect, so BDS one tool down, but the cooldown at this point in the game won't be long. They try to buy more time as that bottom wave is slowly channeling in. G2 though get equalizer, they get arrowed, Hunt Summer cleanses the wave, but Caps is destroyed. Labrov full commits, he charms everyone, while Ice now just starts free firing. He cleanses the wave, but his volley finishes off Yike. BDS came in today ready to play, and G2 are caught off guard.
They were not strong enough to handle the weight of BDS. This team continues to find the fights. They will get the better, and they're going to go 2-0 up in the series.
They managed to catch out G2 over and over, punish those mistakes. Now G2 try to hold on to their turrets, but they're being forced back.
Hunt Summer so low, the full engage is there though. G2 finally gets something good as BDS are still left with 3 and with an Ocean Soul and GA. It doesn't matter. Nuke is going off again. There's a meltdown. There's a crash on the ground. And G2 are dumbfound. BDS moved to match point with a clean 2-0 start. When fate is in their hands for Worlds this year, they will not go quietly into that night.
A result that no one expected. G2 are floundering and BDS are taking advantage of it. Time and time again with great team fights, good positioning on the map. It is BDS that find themselves at match point.
You're ready to say G2, right? It's just our brains wired to the leaders of this region. But G2 one step away from getting knocked out and having their worst finish in a split, at least in a playoff split, since 2023 spring versus Mad. It's crazy that Mad knocked them down here, and I'm crazy to say that it could be BDS going towards our Munich finals. You can grab your LEC season finals and EMEA summer finals for 2024 down there. You can get Munich tickets, lec.gg/Munich. BDS one step away from having a nice trip down south, gents. And it's a good way to go. Let's see if they can finish off the jobber of G2. Still have some bite in them right after this.
Even the biggest champ needs a break.
More!
Red Bull gives you wings.
Hey, shouldn't you be on stage right now?
Hey, you got a pick. Tom Kent? What? I was not expecting this.
And a crazy off-meta pick that secured you the win. How did you come up with it?
I just listened to my gut.